Like, this is the thing that pisses me off about corporate media. They say things, but they don't go into the details to explain to people why we can't do these things and why we don't do them now. So when you make that statement and you say, why can't we just produce it here? That's giving Americans a false perception that we can mass produce it here and we can't. And then you're not telling the viewers that if we would only rely on the production of coffee here, then the price for coffee would greatly increase, right? So that's one of the bad things there about, again, corporate media, not giving the full context. And I think that's important for people to know.
Corporate news bad. Quite sophisticated reporting by this independent journalist. And because she's independent, that means she's better. And, she's not just chasing the clicks and views just like the mainstream media. She's Jesus, right? She's doing this as a charity. She really wants to inform the people. She's not just trying to pay her bills, right? Now, notice that she's literally giving you mainstream media while complaining about mainstream media, right? She is showing you sloppy, literally, I'm not saying that to be funny. This is sloppy reporting that she's showing us, right? She's using sloppy reporting, right? Instead of reporting on what happened herself. So she's not adding any unique value, right? She's showing you these are actual reporters trained in this, doing a bad job. And then she's showing you their sloppy work, right? So this is like sloppy seconds coming on her channel. And then meanwhile, she's talking about, this is why what pissed me off about corporate news. Really? You're so pissed off about corporate news not giving you the full perspective, which is why you're doing the exact same thing? Wow.
Deny entry of planes from the U.S. carrying Colombian citizens that were being deported back to their home country. The response from President Trump was this.
They said they're going to deny these military aircraft coming from the United States. That was their demand. Was their demand met or rejected? Trump wanted to send in the military jets. Colombia was like, no. We're going to establish a protocol and do it our way. Who caved? Did Colombia cave and allow the military jets, or was it the other way around?
He called emergency tariffs of 25% that would become 50% in a week, as well as travel bans and visa sanctions on the Colombian government and its supporters. After that threat was made, the White House announcing a deal between the two nations had been struck. A statement coming.
So you can see what
a deal. And what were the terms of the deal? What were the terms of the deal? Was it in accordance of Colombia's demands? Let me tell you the missing context. She likes to, corporate media, they don't give you the context. Well, corporate media didn't give you the full context, which is not surprising because for-profit media in this country, it's really bad. Right? But why am I the only person who talks about for-profit media, the actual problem? Not even these so-called leftist anti-capitalists. They know all about capitalism and every other business except the one that they're in. Well, technically, they do acknowledge it when it's corporate media. And this is a woman who would talk about Trump bad. They just talk about Trump bad. That's her with this corporate news boogeyman. What is so special about them being corporate? Because they're corporate, that makes them bad? No. It's because they're for profit. The profit incentives are the problem. She understands this very well in every other business, right? She understands the issue of capitalism in every other business, even in the corporate side of her business, right? But somehow independent media, who are basically, that's capitalists, right? She's a capitalist, right? A lot of these independent media folks, they're capitalists. They're running a capitalistic business. Therefore, subject to the very same conflict of interest that makes corporate news as bad as it is. Why would she be immune to that? Is she Jesus?
Was here, right? A travel ban, immediate visa revocations on the Colombian government officials and all allies and supporters. You can see here in 1 week, the 25%.
She's not even taking the time to read the tweets herself like I did for free. I don't get any money doing this. I'm not here running a capitalistic business. I'm basically running a charity. So because I'm more interested, and they understand, leftists understand this, right? If I was running this as a capitalistic business, the profit incentives would be poison, right? Some degree of poison, a distraction. It's just like with healthcare. When healthcare is run from a capitalistic model, the profit incentives are a distraction. Instead of focusing on what's best for the patient, you focus on what's best for profits. She's focused on what's best for paying her bills. So what's best for paying her bills is to get this story out as soon as possible, spend as little amount of time on this as possible, so she has time to do other videos to stay current and make sure she's getting all the trending topics. And, you know, there's so much stuff going on. She's got to cover it all. She's trying to keep her profit margins as high as possible. So she's probably working solo, right? Instead of hiring a team of people, research team and all this kind of people, she wants to maximize her profit. So I'm going to do it all by myself. And in order for that to work, I need to be quick. So she logs in the morning, she gets on Twitter, she sees what, you know, people she's following, what they're talking about. She's limited to the echo chamber that she's in, the bubble that she's in. She's allowing software to feed her topics, right? It's an algorithm that's feeding her topics, feeding her narratives, an algorithm that is controlled by billionaires, right? How ironic. The anti-capitalist. Your channel, your content is being controlled by billionaires that are telling you what to say, how to say it, and when to say it. And as a result, the limitation of what you get from her channel, it's the limitation of the echo chamber that she's in. Because I don't have those profit incentives, I'm not trying to rush and get something out, so I'm just gonna grab. No, so I looked at what people were saying in mainstream media, and it sounded fishy. It sounded like it was missing some details. And I was like, wait a minute, this don't sound right. I kept Googling and Googling and Googling, and it seemed like everybody was just repeating the same thing. Every search I looked, Trump, Colombia cave, blah, 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 blah. And it just seemed like they were missing a step. They were saying something, but they were like missing a step. It's like when somebody, like it was a fight, and then they say something like, how'd the fight start? Oh, she was messing with her, and then, you know, she got upset, so she punched her in the face. It's like, wait, when you say messing with her, what does that mean exactly? You gotta get us the details. What kind of messing with her led to a punch in the face? Did she just say, hey, you look stupid, or you're fat, or something? Or did she like get in her face and push her or something? Like, you gotta tell me the details, right? So a lot of these stories just seem to be missing details. And I tried so hard to get what really happened. I couldn't get it anywhere. So what did I do? I went to the Colombia president's Twitter account. I scanned through all the stuff that he tweeted. I went to the source. That is journalism. But a lot of what we have in American for-profit media is just copycats, right? You have independent media copying from Twitter. You have corporate news copying from the news feeds, news wires, right? Now, I would say most times corporate news at least does the fact checking and, you know, do some kind of investigating, but they don't always. Sometimes, I guess, based on, again, profit incentives. We want to get this out. AP News is a trusted source, and they're saying that Colombia caved. Let's run with it. It's not worth our time to investigate, because if while we're investigating, the competition's getting the story out. So let's just repeat what AP News said. We have our trusted source, right? Sabby Sabs has her trusted source. Mainstream media, ironically, as well as I'm sure there's independent media folks that she's watching on Twitter, and they go and they do their digging, right? People that she follows are people that align with her ideology, so she's going to be limited by their bias because she's not going to take the time to do her own work and investigate and figure out what's really going on to add value to the story, as opposed to just putting out content, trying to get those clicks, trying to pay those bills. like a good capitalist.
50%. So obviously increasing there.
From the White House press secretary reads, quote, today's events make clear to the world that.
The other thing I was supposed to comment on is she doesn't even know if this stuff is accurate, right? These, I don't think, are even screenshots. I think this is Newsmax replicating this by typing this up. So in theory, this could be made up. There could be mistakes in it. And she wouldn't know. She just trusts in that NewsNation, right? This corporate news station. She hates corporate news. Oh, their corporate news is bad. Yet she's trusting them. Right? So you want to talk about lab leak natural origins. NewsNation put out a thing and, all the evidence points to natural origins. And she just reported, no, yeah, natural origins. She's not looking and saying, wait a minute. These quotes, are these quotes accurate? Where you get these quotes from? Can I see the paper that you get this from? Can I see the actual tweet itself? Because I know that media in America is very bad. And I complain to my viewers all the time about it. So I want to do better. I don't want to do the same thing they're doing.
Again, President Trump will continue to fiercely protect our nation's sovereignty, and he expects all other nations of the world to fully cooperate in accepting the deportation of their citizens illegally present in the United States. And as you pointed out here, Nicole, the diplomatic channels and the conversations between Colombia and the United States still ongoing, with those high-level meetings expected to take place between leaders of both nations. Nicole.
All right, so those meetings happening. Robert, where does
Don't produce much here in this country, and I'm going to show you what
self-interest, but again, everyone watching this all play out very.
Yeah, so very carefully.
So ironically, watching this video further, it seems that she actually did do some level of research. But the research that she did was just to expand on what the mainstream media was saying, right? Colombia caved, right? So she just repeats that. She doesn't question it. She doesn't challenge it. She doesn't look at the original tweets, right? No looking at the sources. But what she does do is talk about, if we did have a tariff war, here's all the things that Colombia makes and the coffee. And she talked about, what we can make here. Like, we make some coffee here. There's some issues with that. You see, she's bringing up different articles, right? Now, these are mainstream media articles, by the way. So she's not looking at sources. She's not looking up reports and charts, looking up original stuff. She's, again, relying on mainstream media, right? But her whole thing is, again, not adding value, not doing better than mainstream media does, right? She talk about mainstream media does, and it's like, listen, you're not even informing your audience about what's happening. You're not giving them the full context, right? You're giving them some other context about some other things, which is, again, it's just expanding on the narrative that you've been fed. Fortunately, some of her subscribers get it. You can see some comments right away, and these are early comments, so these are probably more dedicated subscribers, and they're actually speaking out and getting some support. I will add to it as well. And there's also another one down here as well. So there is still some hope. Gotta love that. Gotta love that independent media, right? That charity independent media, people just telling the truth just for fun, right? They're not focused on profits like the evil corporate media.